we want to do one thing. And we've chosen food as our primary lead for these last 3 years. We've also done a lot of work in banking and moving money to financial institutions, a lot of other work, but we decided that food was going to be our primary focus for the foreseeable future. And so we refer to this as a socioeconomic innovation, which is the resource that we're trying to increase the yield of is your purchasing power. Everybody in here has a purchasing power. You might spend $5,000 a year on food, or you might spend $10,000 or more. You don't have to buy more stuff. We're not asking anybody to buy more stuff. We're not asking anybody to invest anything. This is really just a shift in behavior. Just change who we buy from and who makes it, right? And so a few years ago, SSU, Rob Eiler, did an economic multiplier analysis for Oliver's and for the food system. And we've been using those numbers, and essentially what he was able to demonstrate for us is that when we can make this shift, when the comparison being local made item sold through a local store versus a non-local item, an item we've imported through a non-locally owned store. So think Oliver's versus Safeway. So we spend currently $2.1 billion a year at the grocery stores and at restaurants. So what Rob found is that if you do that first scenario, buying something locally made through a local retailer versus other, we get $35 more out of every $100 you spend. $35 more recirculates into our local economy. Just think of it as a dividend, right? It's a bonus that we get when we make those purchases. And these are the people that benefit. That multiplier gets kicked in, and the farmers, ranchers, producers, distributors, grocers, everybody associated with that, and then all the ancillary stuff too within that economic activity, printers and lawyers and accountants and everybody that gets hired by everybody in that network. And so we ask that you buy locally grown produce, and you're going to see now, so this is our both for Sonoma County as well as for the North Bay. So we have both of this branding that is already in the retail stores, and it's going to start, you're going to start seeing this a lot more. We've had it largely been using the made local, but we're also now going to use the grown local for all the produce that we're doing in conjunction with CAF, whom you'll hear from in just a moment. Locally produced goods. Like I said, there's 6,000 SKUs now, so you have no excuse for not finding what you want. And then these are the folks that we work with. So all the locally owned restaurants and all the locally owned markets. So again, I'm going to emphasize this because this is a number to really remember. If you can remember this when you're talking to your friends, or if you believe in this and you want to share this with others, just remember this. This is buy the locally made thing through a local store, $35 more per $100, right? And so this is how it works out at Oliver's. And I'm using Oliver's as an example because we track it there. That's our proof of concept, and we actually track it. So Oliver's is going to do about $30 million this year in make it local items. That's what they're on the trajectory to do. And that generates an additional $10.5 million into the local economy, primarily within the food system network, but also outside of that. That's not extra money that anybody had to spend. It's just because the money supply staying and recirculating locally creates that extra economic activity. And so we feel like this is one of the best economic development programs we can do because it's self-generating. It generates its own income. And so the benefits are largely within jobs because we can create, just by moving that over, you help fuel these local companies who can then expand and grow, just like Alive and Healing is doing. Revive Kombucha is doing the same thing. New startups like Preserve Sonoma up here. These are all businesses that get started because of this consumer market share. And then it's also more sustainable, less food, less truck miles, distribution miles for the food, and greater food security. which is really a large mandate by the USDA Rural Division right now. And then what we try to do with Made Local magazine is give you a tool so that you can learn more about what's going on. And that's really why we started this with the Food System Alliance, to reflect that food action plan and just help everybody learn more about it.
Innovation when it comes to fisheries has a pro and a con. If you go back 40, 50, 60 years, and as recently as 20 years, it was pretty simple. We went out, we caught fish with pretty simple gear, with small boats that had relatively small motors that could catch a limited amount of fish, and then we brought them back to our local markets, and we sold them, and we ate them, and we celebrated with the seasons. Salmon season here in the Bay Area, because that's where we are, was May through October. Dungeness crab was November through May. Sardines, anchovies, squid, usually April through November. And we got excited about the seasons. But with economic booms, technology, innovation, we caught more than we could use. We shipped them globally. And we as a country decided that we wanted to import 90% of our seafood. We don't like what we catch here. We want what they catch over there. And we'll ship our fish away. And that's where we are today. In 2004, Bill and I started Fish Restaurant. In 2004, we were the first restaurant in California that Monterey Bay Aquarium certified as sustainable. I don't like that word. No, applaud, I love applause. Thank you. Do it again. I don't like the word because it has no definition. It just means for how long. Something sustainable today doesn't mean it's going to be sustainable tomorrow. I like renewable. Renewable makes sustainability accountable. It means if there's 10 fish in the ocean and we want to keep 10, we can only take the 11th and the 12th and the 13th and so on. We got to make sure there's 10. We haven't been doing a good job of that. We've created the problem in the ocean. We've taken the fish. We've eaten them all. How many of you have driven around and seen the sticker, Know Your Farmer? Come on, just everybody raise your hand. Help me out, for God's sakes. What about knowing your fisherman? What about going on a menu and going, Rocky Burns or his father Kenny Burns caught that crab? And let's put a name and a face to a product. So in 2009, after 5 years of running a sustainable seafood restaurant with the strictest standards in California, Bill and I got so fed up with what we were being delivered by the companies we were working with, we said the only way to change wholesale is to become wholesale. We didn't want to drive vans, we didn't want to wake up at 2 o'clock in the morning to do wholesale, but we knew that if nobody else did, if we didn't, nobody else would. So we did. Fish on the far left, does anyone know what that fish is? That is an opa. The boat that is sitting to your left, my left as well, is the Sea Queen 3. It's not a US registered vessel, it's not a US crew, but that is at Pier 45, right next door to our facility. That boat on the back deck has 88 miles of line. So just to give you that perspective, we are 81.5 miles away from that spot right there, where we sit right now. There's a baited hook every 3 feet. That fish was caught 1,500 miles from the coast of California. But now that it landed in California, guess what? It's local. Legally, it's local. And all of us that are consumers, that go out to our favorite restaurants, our favorite chefs, we support them, we love them, we go up and we read that menu and it says, local Yakipi Farms, fava beans with a this and a that, and local opa. Absolutely, I'm pulling out my wallet, I'm buying it, I'm supporting a local fisherman. No, you're not. We fixed the wild problem. We met fishermen, we highlight them, we talk about them. Now let's talk about farm fish. I got 25 minutes left, that's perfect. Thank you so much, I appreciate that. You guys are good. There's one thing that farm fishing have in common. All of them, whether you're farming salmon, trout, barracuda, whatever, they all have to eat. What do farm fish eat? Anybody? So fish eat fish, and you're right. Now what farm fish eat in conventional aquaculture is fish oil and fish meal that comes from 3 fisheries. The anchovy fishery, the sardine fishery, the Menhaden fishery out of the East Coast and the Gulf of Mexico. Those get caught, ground up, and turned into fish oil and fish meal. Then they eat chicken byproduct, bone meal, feather meal, blood meal, soy, corn, and then a series of vitamins to make a complete protein. So Bill and I are good at different things, and for those of you that heard this morning, I'll tell a different joke. Bill loves the kazoo. I don't. He plays the trumpet. I don't. He's better at most things than I am. So, Bill got a list of every licensed California aquaculture facility and started calling. We've got an idea. Well, what's your idea? Well, if you catch a trout in the wild, we go trout fishing right now, and we cut that belly open of a wild trout. What it's not gonna have in it is sardines, anchovies, menhaden, blood meal, feather meal, bone meal, chicken byproducts, corn, soy, and a series of vitamins that make a complete protein. It's not, I guarantee you. What it's gonna have in it, if it's super, super small, it's gonna have microalgae, and if it's fry stage or bigger, it's gonna have bugs. If any of you are fly fisher people, you know that when you go fly fishing, you use the hatch that's happening in that river. You don't use sardines, anchovies, yeah, you get the joke. So we started calling every single, what's that, 45 minutes? Perfect. We started calling every single producer. Bill got to the M's, David McFarland picked up the phone. Prior to that pickup, all the other people were like, will we make more money? Have no idea, probably not. Will they grow faster? I have no idea, probably not. No thanks. Thanks, but no thanks. David went, never thought about it. Come on up. So in February of 2009, Bill, Becky, my wife Eden, and I, and my kids went up to the farm, met David, and David was like, wow, I never thought about this. The conversion rate that David looked at is I buy feed from a feed company, and I feed them to my trout, and that's my rate of return. I spend this on feed, I get this return of trout that I can sell, that's what I do. But what about the true conversion? What about the true conversion of wet fish to dry fish to that bag of feed that the fish farmer is feeding? Is closer to 20 pounds to 1. Let's make a diet that works for trout. Rick goes, well, you have any idea what that's gonna cost you? It doesn't matter, let's prove a point. So we created a diet that's algae-based, flax oil, flax seed. We still had corn and soy. Oh my God, you still have corn and soy. I get it. We can't fix every problem at once. So we worked on that diet for a few years, and that's what we did. Then we started working with the California nut growers, and we started to use their waste to create an oil and a meal out of the nut waste to get rid of the soy. We still have corn. There are trials going on to get rid of the corn. We don't pretend that there's not corn in there. We're very honest. There's farms out there that say, we don't treat, no antibiotics, no anything. Well, first of all, there's antibiotics in the chicken that you're using. There's hormones in the chicken that you're using. We go so far as we had a raceway full of fry. And there's a popular dish here in the Bay Area and also in the Great Lakes called fries with eyes, where you take white bait or anchovy, you clean them and you fry them whole. And fries with eyes. So we were losing about 100 fish a day, and David McFarland calls and goes, what do you guys want to do? This is, we got to make a decision here. I'm burying a lot of fish. So Bill and I, we called all our chefs that buy from us and we said, here's the problem. It's a gill disease, but we don't treat. No antibiotics, no hormones, nothing ever. We would rather have the fish die and use for compost. You guys want to run fries with eyes with trout. So we just started harvesting the fish, giving them away, and let all our accounts run a dish not to make the fish go to waste. There's no smoke and mirrors with what we do. We've innovated a diet that is changing aquaculture forever.